going to be honest with you. It's not often that I look at our producer, the wonderful Freckled Mamba, and I say, I want the one shot. Tonight is one of those nights. Psychos and sickos unite for a just foul edition of the PHNX Suns post-game show, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $200 in bonus bets. This one, man.
Feel your pain, man. It's one of those ones which, like, you know, the sad music would be angry music.
Dude, mic issues again. I think it's the refs. Adam Silver knows. By the way, welcome in. I'm Eric. That's Gil. We got Steven. We got the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Adam Silver wants me dead.
Not seriously.
No, Adam Silver wants me dead.
Not seriously. We would love to have you on the podcast, Mr. Silver.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Adam Silver is going to want me dead after what I am about to say.
One shot, please. ISO. There you
go. Your league has a problem, Mr. Silver. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, your team lost. Oh, co-parter. Oh, you're just going to say this when you lose. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's the refs. The refs have always been bad. It's just the refs. Oh, my God. Stop whining about the refs. There are other reasons the Suns lost besides the refs, which is true. And that's why this show will not just be the next couple of minutes that I take here to talk about the officiating. Because it has now been a pattern, at least with the Phoenix Suns. I watch a lot of basketball, but obviously I watch every Suns game twice. Tonight was absolutely egregious. Egregious refereeing. And it's been a couple nights in a row that we've had more reviews than humanly possible. This is an embarrassment on the NBA. It's an embarrassment that you have a guy like Jalen Brown sitting there in postgame saying, I'll take the fine. I'll take the fine. That you have Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, literally having to get kicked out of the game because the refereeing is so one-sided and atrocious when it comes to certain teams. Now, all credit to Detroit. They're a great basketball team. They're the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They woke up. They played great basketball. They were fouling like crazy. Grayson Allen was getting mauled every single time that he had the basketball, to the point that he was Jimmy Butler in the finals in the bubble, just hunched over, out of breath at the end of the game.
Or Shorty outside Popeyes.
Yes.
Shout out OG.
Shout out. And then Grayson Allen, who's getting held on to, by the way, for like 4 seconds after the play is dead, pushes somebody away from him. The weakest technical foul of all time. I am fine letting guys get physical. I am fine being touchy with the foul calls and having a tighter whistle if you think these guys are going to get into it. I'm fine giving techs. I'm fine giving flagrants. I'm fine reviewing it. You need to call it both ways. Every single game. I will sit here 82 games out of the year and tell you all of the faults of the Phoenix Suns players and why they lost that game. They're humans too, but it's their job to do it better. And it is your job to be better at officiating than anybody else on this planet. There are less officials in this world that are refereeing NBA games than there are NBA players. The standard has to be through the roof. Through the roof. How is every single game worse than the last. And I know some people find this annoying, and I won't say it for the rest of the show. I won't get it. We'll talk about why the Suns lost and a lot of other reasons too. But I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of Adam Silver's NBA and this refereeing bullshit. It's awful. It's terrible. I'm done. Okay. How are you guys doing?
I'm okay.
Am I crazy, or was that a really terribly officiated game?
I mean, so, I like to provide context to things when we're speaking to it so that we don't seem biased or one-sided.
I am biased and one-sided.
So in pregame, right, I start and I present it in accordance with intentionality. The Detroit Pistons have had the 1B, if not 1A, best defense in the NBA this season. Spoke through the numbers, talked about their personnel, talked about the why and scheme and personnel and approach and identity and all of those things to why it is that they are that team, at least by my watching eye of the entire league. Allow for the dust to settle on that portion of the conversation. And then, what was the next thing that I spoke to in pregame? They send their opponents to the free throw line at the highest rates in the NBA. If you're a good defensive team, that reputation precedes you in terms of how officials will ref the games that you're playing in. If you're a team that fouls a lot, are we at the halfway point now, or a game away? We're right at the halfway point mark. So there's a little bit of consistency in how teams typically play. If you have a team that's the worst in terms of defensive foul rate, how often they send their opponents to the free throw line, they're probably fouling a lot. You touch a lot, you're probably fouling a lot. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same every single game, but that reputation preceding you should be something that works against you at some point. And it felt like in today's game that there were some very untimely moments where the Suns were succumb to the physicality that Detroit was allowed to play with in comparison to what it was on the other side. And that's something that, to Eric's point, is not the most fair thing, to say the least.
What crossed my mind when we were watching the physicality was what Dillon had told you at practice a few weeks back, maybe even a month at this point. What is time these days? but when he talked about the Suns are kind of becoming a team who earns a reputation, officials kind of sway the way that they think about you and officiate your games over time. Oklahoma City, we always joke around about leeway. Houston, similar beneficiaries of leeway.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of leeway tonight with the Pistons, and I don't necessarily think that, and there's two sides of it too, right? I had a coach one time, one of my teammates was complaining about him not calling fouls in practice, and my coach said, you ain't going to make the shots anyway, so why am I going to call this foul? You don't make free throws. So, you shoot 64% from the free throw line. The second question is, if you had gotten more whistles, what would you have done with the opportunity? But I did see some plays. There was a Grayson drive. I think it was on Holland. It might have been Ivy, but there was a lot of physicality all the way to the rim. And I recognize that it got chippy. I think at some points they made it worse than it actually was by kind of going in and breaking up things that didn't even need to be broken up. But I think that it did get a little out of hand in this game. So I think that you are justified, and you're not just, seeing this from a certain way as far as that goes. But at the same time, on the flip side too, another one of those games, Tuesday felt like a playoff game. Tonight felt like a playoff game.
Yeah.
How do you respond? You're going to find yourself in this position at some point down the line, whether it's later in the season, whether it's in the play-in tournament, whether it's in the first round of the playoffs, when the whistle isn't benefiting you. How are you going to remain poised and all of that stuff through those things? Granted, you're without two key guys, but still they had enough to win this game despite all that, which I think is the most frustrating part.
And to that point, I mean, and to Eric's point of not using it as an excuse, but just speaking to something that was loudly impactful on the results of the game, this was a game that the Suns have won in different ways throughout the season. They wouldn't be at the point in the standings that they're at right now if they weren't able to go and win some of these mudslinging type of games where the whistle's not in their favor and they're not playing with the best rhythm and offense isn't easy to come by. Like, they've won these games before, so we're not absolving them of any blame in this at all. But I think Eric is apt in his dissertation given about the refs and needing to
calling
be
that a dissertation. Thank you.
lot better at having control of the game, which I feel like is what you were getting at. If you set the precedent early and there's no leeway conceded either direction, everybody has a sharp understanding of what's allowed, what's not allowed. And at that point, there's no arguing to have because you know what time it is when certain things happen and you know what you'll be allowed to do. You can play the game based off of that.
And look, I'm sitting here, and the reason why I had so much of that built up, it's not just the Suns. Like, I'm a basketball fan, man, and I love this league, and I really hate about how the refs are gambling, the refs are in, Vegas is this. Like, I really hate how that has become like a casual, everyday part of the discourse. I'm sure I've even thrown those jokes out there as well. I don't like the fact that people are saying call for AI refs and robot refs and all. I hate that. Right? Because there should be a human element to it. Like, sometimes a foul one game isn't a foul the other game because there's different, like you said, precedents set that the game is played. And as far as games go with this one, this was going to be a chippy and physical game. And so I understand that there are going to be games where the Suns aren't on the good side of the whistle, or there's going to be calls where a referee, a human, misses a call. This is, and the reason why it's so passionate for me, this is now a long-standing thing that not just me, but many NBA fans have seen, where this season specifically, everybody always complains about the refs, the umps, the stripes, whatever you want to call them, whatever sport it is, every fan has complained about every single ref, every single game that has ever been played in human history. But I have never seen more universal criticism for the level of refereeing in the National Basketball Association than I have from players, coaches, and fans this year. When it comes to this game specifically, beyond the refs, which I do think called a bad game tonight, I want to give the Suns a lot of credit. I think there's a lot to break down as far as why the Phoenix Suns lost tonight, and a lot of that of their own doing. But at the end of the day, this was a fully healthy #1 seed in the Eastern Conference at home. The Detroit Pistons, by the way, are 29-10 on the season, 16-4 at home. And the Suns not only led for, I think, a majority of that game, but went wire to wire without Devin Booker, without Jalen Green. I know we laugh about it, but without Jamari Bouye, how much could they have used another creator out there? Another guy who could have hit open shots, handled the ball without turning it over? A ton. This team fought so hard tonight, and I want to give them a lot of credit for that before we talk about the variety of reasons as to why this ended up being a loss, dropping them to 24-17.
Absolutely. And even coming out of the gate, we were concerned basically immediately because it looked like the Pistons were going to just kind of have their way and do whatever they wanted in this game. But very quickly, you saw Grayson Allen get going. You saw this team, the Suns team, say, look, we're here. We're not. Doesn't matter who suits up, who's got the jersey on. We're going to fight. We're going to claw. We're going to scrap. And it went from, hey, we're going to fight, we're going to claw, we're going to scrap, to, hey, we are actually going to dictate how this game goes in the first quarter. And shot making is massive. You knocked down 6 threes in the first quarter. Grayson came out firing. Colin came out firing. That was exciting to see. That was good to see. But what really it was on the defensive end, you know, holding the Pistons to 23 points in the first quarter. But there was one play I remember in the first half, and we talked about it. We were marveling over it in the first half, picking up Cade full court, making him uncomfortable, throwing the timing off of the Pistons offense. And we'll talk more about Cade's struggles, I'm sure. But they started an offensive possession with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. And the result was a Javonte Green leaning three-pointer, which I don't think that he's been shooting well from three, but I don't think that's a shot they wanted on that possession. So a lot of the principles that we've seen, the things that we lamented them not doing on Tuesday, they're saying, hey, look, it doesn't matter who's suiting up. These are the controllables. This is what Phoenix Sun basketball looks like, and this is how we do it and how we impose it. Because even if shots weren't falling, the effort that they were putting in, the physicality that they matched was going to keep them around. But the shots falling, you end up leading by 16 points at one point, which coming into tonight, I don't think any of us would have thought that they would have led by that many.
No, not at all. To your point, the start to the game was not the best for the Suns. In fact, I think Detroit was doing the dictating early on. Get to maybe the second timeout, starts to sprinkle in a few of those reserves, the junkyard dogs, in the most complimentary fashion, because they completely changed whatever the parameters of the game were played on, whether it was in favor of the Suns or against them. They take what was going on and they make it their own game, and they make you play on their terms. Jordan Goodwin, Oso Ighodaro, Ryan Dunn, Colin Gillespie mixed in there a little bit. Obviously, Royce O'Neal was mixed in with that unit a little bit. Dillon Brooks mixed in a little bit early on as well. But the core four of the reserve unit for the Suns continues to show up. And also shout out to Isaiah Livers, too, because he showed up in a meaningful way, especially early on. That group just upticks the activity levels. Talk about them tying their number 2 in terms of total stocks in a game with 23 tonight. Season high is 25. They flirted with that multiple times. Largely responsible for that is that reserve unit. Talked about the torture twins. Usually that's Jordan Goodwin and Ryan Dunn on the floor defensively. Other guys mixed in with that. Those guys just get after it. You talk about it all the time, Gil, they heat up the ball. The pickup points that we did not see in that Miami game, all of a sudden those guys get in the game. And then today's game, Cade Cunningham is struggling to get the ball across half court, to your point. And if he's not initiating offense, whoever else it is that's bringing the ball up the court is getting hounded too.
Right.
It feels like, just off of watching the first time, this might have been a game where they had more than one guy in the backcourt as their opponents were inbounding the ball than at any other point outside of maybe one other game this season. And that speaks a lot to what they wanted to reverse the tides of in terms of what was non-existent for the most part against Miami and them being able to get into their dribble drive motion offense versus what the Pistons did, which was not run a lot of offense until really late in the game. And even at that point, they didn't have the most rhythm. So start there. A lot more to speak to. Eric, what did you see?
Well, look, I saw a lot, obviously, maybe through some red-tinted glasses because I was so angry. But we got some blue-collar boys to name. We've got our dude of the night to name. We still have a lot to get into. We'll obviously have to break down Dillon Brooks' game. A lot of people, it seems online, talking a little bit about Jordan Knott as well. So we're going to do all of that on the PHNX Suns post-game show. I promise I'll not be as loud as I was at the beginning on the other side of our first break. I'll make you another promise. If you're looking to do that remodeling job that you've been putting off for a long time, the Window Depot is the perfect place to go. Not just because you'll find windows that are locally made, but because they have so much more than windows at the Window Depot. I'm talking windows, doors, skylights, cabinets, countertops, sinks, and more. Tons of inventory in stock, ready for pickup, and that is why contractors love the Window Depot. Job site ready quantities, unbeatable prices, expert service, and the best part, no membership required. 7 locations across State 48. So whether you're remodeling a kitchen or tackling a multi-family build, stop by the Window Depot. Plus, if you need a little help bringing your vision to life, they have in-house designers that are there to help you plan your space. And get this, at no extra cost. From cabinets to countertops, they make it simple. Visit thewindowdepot.com to get started on your next project today, or stop by one of the Window Depot's 7 Arizona locations to see for yourself why they're way more than just a window store. Also, way more than being ordinary is Bet365, because quite frankly, it is never ordinary at Bet365. And I know we're in basketball season, but right now, football's back in action this weekend, and right now, Bet365, you can get on it too. Starting Thursday, Bet365 is offering double your money with a super boost on 1 or more passing yards in the Denver versus Buffalo game. That's right. All it takes is 1 single yard. That's it. So right now you can do that. And also new customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 52342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for spending your Thursday night with us. The Phoenix Suns did lose to the Detroit Pistons 108-105, 0-2 on the road trip so far. Next game, Madison Square Garden. Hopefully Devin Booker is back. Maybe Jalen Green plays, but first we talk about the team tonight. Let's go ahead and give out some blue collar boys for the night, because you brought it up, Steven. That bench mob was good, and I mean good win, because Jordan Goodwin was phenomenal tonight. 7 points. How about 12 rebounds for Jordan Goodwin tonight.
His third game with double-digit rebounds as a guard, and he's not playing a lot of minutes.
No, he played 32 minutes.
Tonight he did, but average-wise this season.
3 assists, 3 steals, plus 14 against the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference on the road. We're also going to give one to Oso Ighodaro, who had 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 steals, the most steals by a Phoenix Suns player in a single game since Devin Booker in November of 2022. 9 total steals and 15 total rebounds from Oso Ighodaro and Jordan Goodwin. Gil, those are the type of performances that are going to win you playoff games when you get there. The Suns needed some more outside of them as far as offensive creation. When it comes to what they did it beautifully.
They did it well. And thinking about especially who they were doing it against, right? We talked about Goody spending time guarding Cade Cunningham. There was one where he had Isaiah Stewart. He was guarding him on the block, and Isaiah Stewart was trying really hard to post him up and got caught for 3 seconds. So forced a turnover doing that. And he just holds his own, right? And thinking about, like, there were, like, throughout the time, you guys can be my witnesses. I said good hands, like, just naturally over and over again because those guys just they were in the right place in the right time and made the right play, because the way they were calling the game, they could have easily gotten called for fouls in some of those moments, but stripping the ball, forcing turnovers, all the steals that they had, was really impressed with that because, these are two teams, both teams like to steal the ball, like to get active defensively. So in many ways, beating the Pistons in their own game, and that it all kind of starts from making them uncomfortable, throwing the timing off, and then taking advantage. And it was just all the defensive process, especially with both of those guys, was really impressive. And I know you always talk about Oso switching. We saw that too.
It's so much fun to watch this Suns team play defense, man. Like, I understand why people are inclined to watching offense more, because more teams are better at offense than there are teams that know how to execute defensively. It takes more than just 1 or 2 or even 3 or 4 guys being on the same page in terms of decision-making and all of the things that come into account when you're looking at how to defend specific players on a team within a team scheme, and then guys to their individual strengths as well. Jordan Goodwin and Oso Ighodaro they are A-plus thinkers of the game defensively, and because they think it through and process it so well, it allows for them to get ahead of things at times. So we talk about Oso switching a lot because he's one of the best switch bigs in the league. That's cool, but what else? Because other bigs can switch. What's going to make your switching differentiate from any other big that's switching? One thing that helps with that is that when he's switching, he's often switching with Jordan Goodwin. Jordan Goodwin is not just a good defender, he's also one of those 6'4" guards that has no problem guarding up. Jalen Duren wants to run an inverted pick and roll with Cade Cunningham. All right, cool. We can just switch that. Take that first hit to the chest, and by the time you try to readjust, guess who's flying in for a double team from the weak side? Dillon Brooks. Guess what? Jump ball. Job well done, Jordan Goodwin. Suns probably end up gaining the extra possession. That's a positive result regardless. Isaiah Stewart getting into things where he's screening. Oso Ighodaro just switches with Goodwin. Jordan Goodwin's hanging out in the gap, knowing that he has Isaiah Stewart there, but he's also taking away the driving angle, gets a deflection, almost comes up with the steal following the ball as it goes out of bounds. Little moments like that, again, just processing it early, being early with help, being early in positions. Those guys are really good. That defensive nucleus might not always result in the best offense for the lineups that they're in, but if you have a reserve unit that can even speed up a game, it might not always be scoring, but if they can just dictate the terms defensively, you can bridge a gap once it gets to more meaningful games. And now you imagine those lineups being built out with the entire rotation, Dillon Brooks around, Devin Booker around, Jalen Green around in particular. That helps to give those lineups a little bit more pop while not losing the identity and the culture that they've kind of established as a faction of the roster already.
The personnel thing was one thing I wanted to point out with that you talked about their unique abilities to guard multiple positions. Like, it's one thing to have an idea of what you want to do schematically on defense, but you have to have the players capable of doing it.
You got to actually choose to do it.
And you actually have to choose to do it. So there's a lot of pieces to go into that. And I think that is why it's so fun to watch them play defensively, because they have these schemes that won't work unless they're guys capable of doing it and willing to do it. And the Suns have that throughout the roster. And now, to your point, when you start talking about getting closer to full strength and the strengths and weaknesses vary throughout lineups, you have guys who can allow you to get creative to make up for some deficiencies that others may have, but also can play on their strengths. So I'm excited on that end of the floor to see how that is, especially when you start drawing matchups in series and things like that. It'll be fun.
Question for both of y'all real quick. So think back on some of your favorite contending realm teams over the last like decade of basketball. A lot of those teams.
You're around the Hornets. I'm sorry. It's going to be a tough pull for you.
That's tough. I wasn't talking specific to your team.
I'm messing around.
But those teams have a commonality within them, and that's might not always be a 5-man or 4-man unit per se, but there might be 2 or 3 guys that give that starting unit a bump up from what it already is doing in terms of production. For the Suns, I think it's gaining possessions. And I generalize it as that because one night it's Goody getting 6 offensive rebounds. One night it's also grabbing 4 or 5. And it's a lot of those just kind of tip outs that allow for them to get an extra possession. Tonight, it was clearly theft, taking the ball away, block shots, steals, deflections. Like there's different ways they can go about gaining those possessions. So I don't want to put them in the box to one or the other. But simply being able to do that and kind of help to win that time of possession battle, that's what the Suns want. And I feel like that's something that a lot of teams have. Thinking back to some of the early and mid-2000 like Clippers teams when Chris Paul was there, some of the Oklahoma City teams when they had Serge Ibaka and all of those guys, those teams had reserve units that really got after it. And I think the Suns having that, so long as their starting unit can reach its potential and be healthy, is something that can be a weapon for them late.
If there's one thing that we've learned from the last couple of years of Phoenix Suns roster experimentation is that you don't win without depth. You need to, and again, you were missing your 2 best offensive players, probably your 2 best players tonight in Jalen Green and Devin Booker against the best defense in the league or the second best defense in the league, depending on which way you would like to put it, right? So you can't just go out there and say, we're going to have somebody drop 40. Well, I mean, you did have somebody drop 33, and we'll get to him in a second. But off the bench, there were 5 players that played, okay? 4 of them had a positive plus-minus in a game. And again, it's single game plus-minus, but I do think that tonight the eye test really proved it right. So 4 of them had a positive plus-minus. 2 of them had a double-digit positive plus-minus. The highest one in the game, plus 14 for the Suns, Jordan Goodwin in 32 minutes, okay? This is a game the Suns lost by 3. The second, in 14 minutes, a plus 10, 0 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. That's Isaiah Livers. Isaiah Livers played very meaningful minutes for the Suns tonight, very impactful minutes, and he fits in with that identity of you don't need to go out there and score a ton of points in order to make an impact on this team. And if any team is missing the most amount of scoring right now, it might be the Phoenix Suns, who are missing 50, 55 points sitting on the bench. Add 5 for Jamari Bouye. That's a nice round 60 on the bench. It's still a nice baseline, Gil, despite the sting of a defeat tonight.
Not to mention that a guy who you typically count on for offense was under the weather this morning. Not for nothing. I know we'll talk about what Dillon Brooks did and didn't do in this game as well. But yeah, I just the ability to trust those guys and to think about Jordan Goodwin. We've talked so much about everything that he does and the timeliness of these reserves and how they just know when a play needs to be made. They stay within themselves, and that's not even meant to be derogatory to say they stay within themselves, because they're capable of doing a lot of things, but they know exactly what needs to be done. And also that different games call for different versions of them. We were speaking so highly about Jordan Goodwin against the Thunder because he made 8 of 13 threes. Well, he took 2 threes tonight. That wasn't what this game required him to do. So I think that knowledge and that ability to understand that ability to have, like you say all the time, their feel for the game is so innate, and it is impressive to see that because they understand. And I think that's the thing that's so special about second units. You are on the sideline and you're kind of getting an idea of the tempo, the flow of the game. What can I take advantage of when I get out there on the floor? Scouting and understanding the opponent. What does this game require from me? And to see these guys do that night in and night out, not knowing who they're going to be playing behind, because you never really know with the Suns injury report. It's encouraging to see, and it's exciting to think about once this team is eventually at full strength, like I've been saying that since I've moved here, but once this team is eventually at full strength, to see what that looks like in a high leverage situation.
I think you make a good point in that, because that perspective allows for you to get the answers to the test before you actually get in the game to take the test. And to Eric's point in pregame, asking about guarding Cade similar to how you guard Luka, I was like, it's similar but different. Like, Goody comes in, he's like, okay, Cade is a little too comfortable. I got to get in this jersey. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to pick him up full court. He gets into his pick and rolls. We know that he's not at his best at shooting pull-up threes quite yet. So I can mix in a couple unders, kind of take the fastest route, meet him on the other side of the screen, and then play to my advantages from there. If he's not taking that pull-up three, all that's doing is just tick, tick, tick. It's wasting the clock. Now it's moving them later into the possession or into the shot clock, and now it's to our advantage the later we get. I think those little things really matter. You get to see how a team is trying to get into their actions. Instead of just seeing it on film, you get to watch it in person, see the rhythm and cadence that they want to work at. And I think that goes in tandem with what Oso's doing. They're applying the knowledge that they already have gained from their first 6 to 8 minutes before they actually get in. And then once they get in, it's just game-busting mode, and they continue to find ways to provide impact. And I think on the offensive end, they both found ways to do so as well. Oso continues to do things in a connective way on offense that helps kind of bridge the gap for this team, give them a shot in the arm at times when it hits a little bit of a wall, and just generally provide impact. Jordan Goodwin, no different. Find a way to get a paint touch at times, knock down a couple threes at times, make some timely passes. They're just finding ways to get it done, and I think you can't put a value on having reserves that understand that kind of disposition and how to wear it every game.
Cade Cunningham tonight, 10 points, 3 of 16 from the field, 0 of 7 from deep, 4 of 9 from the free throw line for Cade Cunningham as well. Did dish out 11 assists, but had 5 turnovers. Bad game.
He wasn't comfortable. He wasn't
comfortable. And that's an eye test meets the stats thing, where he was just completely thrown off. Now, there were some other really great performances from the Pistons that I think when you look defensively for the Suns, there were some weaknesses. Tonight, I think Jalen Duren, 16 points, 18 rebounds. Insane. 8 of 13 from the field, and not just paint shots. He was hitting some shots outside of the paint as well. Really tough night for Mark Williams defensively at certain points. I think he had a couple flashes of brilliance defensively. He did have 4 blocks and a steal, so it's 5 stocks for him. But it just felt like, Gil, he was completely out-physicaled. When you're facing the Pistons and you can keep Cade to those numbers, and you look at a guy like Jalen Duren and you're like, man, if we could have just limited him a little bit in just his 28 minutes, you could have seen a different result tonight.
Yeah, I've seen some people in the chat lamenting the rebounding production from the bigs tonight, and that Jordan Goodwin was your leading rebounder, and then Royce O'Neal was the second guy after that. And that goes back to all the challenges that Jalen Duren presents. When he's not in foul trouble, he is one of the best rebounders in the NBA. And he just has a knack and a nose for the ball, and I think that kind of happens to where when you're going against him, you need to gang rebound because your big's probably going to lose that rebounding battle. Specific to Mark, I think we've been trying to wrap our heads around, not saying anything's wrong or anything's going on, but at moments and times, he doesn't look like what we've seen him. And I think a lot of it is matchup based, but some of the things he can do more of. And it's difficult when you're going against a guy who's younger than you, probably as strong, if not stronger than you, and probably as athletic, if not more athletic than you. You don't get to outrun him and get the rim runs you typically get 2 or 4 points off of a game when you're outworking the guy that you're matched up with. The one he had that stands out in my mind was when he snatched the lob out of the air and they stayed back, the Pistons stayed back, complained about a call, and he ran the floor and got a dunk. That was 2 of his 5 points in the game tonight. The other one that stands out to me was he had a dive and he kind of shied away from contact and laid it up and didn't connect on it. And I'm just thinking, again, I'm telling myself, easy for me to say at my height, I've never been this height before, but you're 7'1". Finish up top. See what happens. Draw a foul. So seeing more of that, and that's something I'll continue to have my eye on. You know, Mitchell Robinson is awaiting this weekend again, right? So these big man matchups that he has waiting for him, kind of putting a pin in that and seeing what we will see from Mark and how we can find ways to continue to outwork him, because we know he's not a give it the ball on the block guy and go to work. How are you going to outwork some of these guys who are similar to you, at least attribute-wise?
Yeah, that's what it's going to kind of boil down to for the Suns in a lot of matchups. They need the center position to be an advantage for them. almost can't even be neutral in some matchups just because other teams are simply going to outproduce them because they can play through their centers in ways that the Suns can't consistently do. Evident by Jalen Duren doing what he did tonight. This didn't feel like a crazy Jalen Duren game considering what we've seen from him this season alone, but that impact on the glass was certainly felt for sure. He was moving a lot of furniture in the paint. So for a guy like Mark, who's a little bit more frailer in frame compared to Duren, you can't meet force with force in that situation because that's not your strength when you're going up against someone whose strength is their strength.
Yeah.
You got to out like the first possession.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah. For sure. You got to out finesse him. So in pick and roll, can you find angles to beat him to the spot and make him shift, if not outright, find an angle to get a pocket pass and then try to play through contact from there or play off of pump fakes. And then defensively, got to beat him to the spots. If he's got to push you off the spot because you beat him there, don't want to go back to the original message of the podcast,
Sure, yeah.
but that's something that ultimately gets put in their hands. I was already here. He tried to play through my shoulder and my chest and my arm. If I'm going up for this genuinely, that's got to be a foul at some point. So, like, it's hard. It's mental. It's very mental. Like, people think it's going to be very physical. It is that, but you have to think once you're met with that type of resistance and adversity. And I think Mark is getting there. He's still, I think, 24 years old?
Yeah, he turned 24 this season.
He just turned 24. Still very young. He understands what his advantages are. It's just about kind of figuring it out against different types of centers. I think tonight he had flashes, to your point. Did he leave a little bit to be desired? For sure. And I think this is going to be a kind of growth point for him to kind of look back on and build off of.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be better in these situations. I'm not saying he needs to be better than Jalen Duren. Somebody said, we could use a Jalen Duren type. Yeah, every single team.
You don't find
29 teams are saying that.
There is a chance that Jalen Duren ends up being like a second-team All-NBA center this season with injuries and whatnot going on. He's just been that good.
Even without the injuries, that dude's been hooping. Man.
He's a certified all-star.
Yeah.
He's very, very good. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying Mark had to get the better of him tonight, but I do think Mark needed to play better tonight. Mm-hmm. I know that, and there's points in the chat, this is the first time he's played consistently in a season. His body's probably adjusting. Look, the guy's still barely playing over 30 minutes per game every 4 games or so, right? Like, He's got his excuses that are valid, right? He's got the explanations, or maybe a better way, that are valid. He's young. He's learning. His body's not used to this. This matchup wasn't great. He's a 7-foot athletic freak. Like, he got 5 stocks tonight, 4 of those blocks. Mm-hmm. So he certainly still found ways to do it. But on the offensive side of things, you know, we talked about Oso a lot earlier in the year about, like, we need to put Oso in a better position to succeed offensively. That was put the ball in his hands. I'm wondering, Steven, what do the Suns need to do to get more out of Mark offensively? Because 5 points for him tonight is tied for the team low of guys that had scored beside Rasheer and Isaiah Livers. Him and Ryan Dunn put up 5 points tonight. For your starting center, you need some more offensive pop.
Yeah, you do. But I think the struggle is that the Suns don't feed the big man the best. It feels like a lot of their scoring comes from being able to go get a paint touch or leveraging his roll gravity into shots on the backside of pick and roll and things like that, or manipulating the dunker spot, defense shifts, and now you're able to skip it to hit somebody. For Mark to be his best is for the Suns to be able to consistently find him when those opportunities present itself. Jalen Duren wasn't at the level of the screen at all tonight. He didn't need to be. There was no Devin Booker, no Jalen Green. He didn't need to be all the way up to touch at the level. He was pretty much in drop, if not drop adjacent, keeping things to the sideline and things like that. That enables a natural pocket pass. The guards got to get downhill, though, in that, engage the big, and then be able to feed him. First play I'm thinking about, Jordan Goodwin comes in the game, comes off the screen, gets into the body of the big. It might have been Stewart, not Duren at that time. Gets into his chest. That entices the big to engage with him, picks up his dribble, but I think it was maybe Holland that didn't get back to the switch with the big that took place. So now Mark Williams is wide open, quick little dump off, boom, and that's an easy 2. They need more of their guards getting into the bigs and engaging the 5s in that way to then hit Mark. But it's got to come with some kind of consistency. Otherwise, his rhythm is not really going to be there. We talked about his finishing around the basket a lot this season and even before he got here. That's something that's an asset, but you have to feed him in those spots. If he's not getting it there, he can't go negotiate there himself. So I think that's the next point of growth. Alley-oops are cool. What about the simple pocket passes and being able to hit them there?
Yeah, we're going to get to your super chats in a second. I promise. We're going to get to all of them. I promise. Last thing before we take a break here on this, I think that's an underrated part of when you're talking about missing Devin Booker tonight
100%.
and missing Jalen Green for this season is maybe the person affected the most gravity-wise will be a guy like Mark Williams, because it's kind of easiest to stick close to him and to get him out of his comfort zone than it is a Grayson Allen or a Dillon Brooks who's hitting tough shots, or a Colin Gillespie who can go and make their own shots so they can put themselves in a more advantageous position, therefore benefiting less from guys like Devin Booker and Jalen Green who can go out there and make a defense bend to their will.
That's right, Eric. And I think kind of combining your point with Steven's point, what he does so much is angles based. And it's very, I won't say easy, but for opposing defenses, what do you do? Just cut the angle off. And then it's kind of like there's not really a counter. The closer you get to the rim, you can't really counter, but so many ways. And that's not necessarily in his bag yet. And I think when it's almost simplifying it, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, try and get one rim run a game, one or two of those pocket passes, and a putback. That's 8 points right there. And anything else after that is extra. And I know it's easier said than done, but I'm thinking as far as just his engagement, how to keep him involved offensively, outwork. At some point, there's going to be a time where you can beat somebody down the floor, seal somebody, and that's the easy thing to have. Boom, seal, catch it, turn, maybe get fouled, whatever it is. So I would like to see them incorporate that a little more. Again, we talked about the other day who benefits most from Jalen Green coming back. I thought back immediately. The one assist Jalen Green has had to Mark Williams is because Ivica Zubac's had to help off of Mark and drop off. So I'm excited to see more of that, and hopefully that could be something that gets Mark into more of a rhythm.
And that's why I go against the grain with this narrative that traditional point guards don't have a place in the league now. Because there's two things that a traditional guard is, well, three things. They're going to control the offense, having a feel for who needs it when and who needs it off of what the game is asking for. They're going to be able to feed a big and pick and roll, and they're going to be able to get the ball to shooters in the pocket, which makes for the most efficient shot to come from that. Jalen Green is not that. Devin Booker has elements of it, but he's not a traditional guard. He's a scoring guard first. That's where the attention that he gets comes from. With Jalen, though, that's why I mentioned in our last 3 p.m. show, I feel like Mark would be maybe the best direct recipient from his presence, because Jalen gets a lot of pick and roll. There's a lot of pocket pass opportunities, but he's also a big that comes off and engages the opposing big in pick and roll immediately. You have to shift over because he'll just pull up or he'll get all the way to the cup. Once you shift over, now the pocket pass is there. Now all of a sudden, Mark is getting 6 to 8 more touches a game just off of the attention that Jalen Green gets in drop coverage. And from that point, now he feels more in rhythm, getting those shots up around the rim at 71% in efficiency. That's what you want. Now you can get to 15 a game on average easily.
Well, look, no Devin Booker tonight, no Jalen Green tonight, but to be honest with you, we have waited way too long to talk about who we're going to talk about on the other side of our final break. Well, before I tell you about the dude of the night, let me tell you about what else Gila River Resorts and Casinos has going on, like the fabulous Corvette giveaway. Drive into excitement with the fabulous Corvette giveaway, running January 16th. Hey, that's tomorrow, to April 24th. You want a Corvette? 4 casinos, 4 Corvettes, 4 chances to win big. Wild Horse Pass, Vequeva, Lone Butte, Santan Mountain. Here's how you qualify. Fridays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Hourly drawings for free bonus play or a finale entry. Tuesdays and Saturdays, earn 4 times entries when you play with Gila River Resorts and Casinos signature The Card. Thursdays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. hot seat finale qualifier. Play with The Card for your shot. April 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Each one of those days, a Corvette will be given away. For more information, visit playatgila.com. Don't miss your chance to accelerate into luxury. Play, earn, and win at any of their 4 casino locations today. And look, everybody has a dream. Maybe it's to get a Corvette. Maybe it's to start your own business and channel this new fresh start energy of the new year if you have a dream to make your own business a reality. And Shopify is here to help you out every step along the way. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online or in person, and millions of entrepreneurs, including the PHNX store, have already made this leap from household names to first-time business owners just getting started. They give you all the tools to easily build your dream store, choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. Marketing is built in to create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they scroll. As you grow, Shopify grows with you. So in 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. Go to shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Hear your first cha-ching in the new year with Shopify by your side. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us on a Thursday
Lord
night.
Wilson, I could never.
You got the Brooks stare down?
I could never.
You're just thinking about that Corvette.
I got a little stare. But I ain't got the Brooks stare though.
You're just thinking about driving that Corvette, listening to the fall off, February 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
No fall off from our dude of the night, presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playedgila.com for more details. A record-breaking performance from Grayson Allen. You might ask yourself, well, what record? I'm telling you, 2 of them. For the first time in Phoenix Suns history, a player recorded 3+ blocks and 3+ three-pointers in a single quarter. Only the 18th time in NBA history. That would be Grayson Allen. Also, Gil, according to your research, the shortest player to ever do 3+ blocks, 3+ threes in a single quarter.
According to my research, according to what their listed heights are. So, I mean, that's all we can go from.
Per at Gil McGregor _. If it's wrong.
Gil McGregor stats.
At Gil stats. Blame him if it's wrong. Also, a franchise record in 3-point attempts for Grayson Allen. Not the prettiest shooting percentage, but he needed to take all of them tonight. 7 of 20 from deep for Grayson Allen, 11 of 25 from the field. In 31 minutes, he scored 33 points tonight, his second highest scoring performance of the season. Also added 5 rebounds, like I said, 3 blocks. Grayson Allen was spectacular tonight. He also had our Love the Play, presented by Arizona Lottery. If you're over the age of 21, play and gift today at the first quarter buzzer beater. Really deep 3 off of a broken play that he swished. He was getting mauled. He was exhausted.
Nobody got hurt on that play either.
No, nobody got hurt on that play, thank God. Although Steven was fighting for any other play. Steven wanted the
I actually did have.
Steven wanted the 2-piece to Ron Holland and the poke to Sar Thompson's eye to be the play of the game.
Bink, bink.
Grayson Allen, Gil, incredible performance. Not one for the shooting stats, but when you watch this game, they needed every single bit of his heroics tonight.
And you know what? I'm old enough to remember when he went 0-6 from 3, so I won't even be mad about him.
7 and 20.
I'm not 7 and 20 feels amazing. And honestly, 35% from deep, especially when you take that many in a game. Like we were talking about earlier, how tired you'd be in a 3-point contest, shooting a bunch of threes. Shooting 23s in an NBA game, you could tell
when you're getting pushed
and held and all that stuff. I know he was gassed, but the fact that he was able to push through it, finish with 33 points, we were kind of waiting for him to get his timing back, to get his rhythm back. And again, I kind of said it as a joke at first, but it's always like, man, you take one step forward and take a couple back. Got Grayson kind of back looking like himself again, but at what cost? Devin Booker is on the sideline. We're still waiting on Jalen Green to come back, but all those things that he did are going to be great, because I think I'm comfortable saying, okay, Grayson is back to being at that level. When the volume goes down a little bit, we'll still see the same level of efficiency, floor spacing, things of that nature, and we're reminded of just how important he is to this team.
For sure. I think he had 5 threes made at the half. Detroit had 6 as a team. So he was going basically band for band with their entire team, and
the whole organization.
Yeah, he was letting that thing fly for sure. One of my favorite parts about this game for Grayson is Detroit starts the game and it's Duncan Robinson guarding him. He does what he does in the first quarter. Comes to the second quarter, guess who's not guarding him anymore?
Duncan Robinson. Spider-Man meme.
And that's because Grayson has, like, there's one thing where you can stash players on certain guys because they have one specific skill that they play to. It's the guys, and Duncan actually plays this role for Detroit. We talked about it a little bit during the game where, yes, you have a top-tier skill, but when you have a counterpunch to that, that makes you be able to make teams pay for the matchups that they have to give to you when your team is healthy, because they have to spend higher volume defensive capital on some top-tier offensive guys. Imagine Jalen Green and Devin Booker are back. with Dillon Brooks on the floor. You can't just stash. You have to stash a guy on Grayson.
Right.
Grayson can just put the ball on the deck. You want to run him off the three-point line? Guess what? He's more than comfortable playing downhill. Has all of the Euro steps and inverted Euro steps and Pinoy steps and floaters, all of that stuff. He's got all of that. Also the second best lob passer, if not the best on the team for the Suns with that. And also is just generally good at making those next passes. I beat a closeout, go get a paint touch, defense flattens, get it to the second side, and y'all have fun with that. He's really good with making those kind of sharp decisions. And I think this was an example of his ability to force a defense's hand and still be able to create advantages for guys to play off of. Second half wasn't his best game. He had moments, but that first half was really where he kind of laid the foundation for the Suns to really have a lead for a majority of the game and kind of have a chance to win it at the end.
Yeah, and a lot of these attempts at the end of the game, like,
he was gassed.
He had to throw it, and he had to, like, they had no other option, right? He was also force-fed some at the end of quarters or end of shot clocks and end of possessions. He had a wedgie tonight, which is awesome. Shout out to the guys over at No Dunks. It was a good game from Grayson. It's a game that, like you said, Gil, if you can kind of shrink that sample size and put him alongside some other guys, it's what we were imagining at the beginning of the season when Grayson was playing out of his mind. I thought defensively he played a good game too. Like, he remained physical. And kind of to your point, Steven, with that he had multiple counters to go with, Grayson is one of those guys that just doesn't stop moving. Like, he's always running, and it seems like he's always going at full speed. It's why he plays well when Oso's out there on the court or with Devin Booker, who's a plus passer. It's wild to be fun for Devin Booker to have the ball in his hands, and then Jalen Green and Grayson Allen are both running around the court. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do with that? Or ball in Oso's hands. Those three are running around the court. What the hell are you supposed to do with that? But at a certain point, when you're getting literally mauled every possession, you're sprinting full speed, you're hoisting up 20 shots from deep tonight, just not on the game, but from deep, and 25 overall. By the way, that means he shot 4 of 5 from inside the arc tonight, and 4 of 4 from the line. There's just only so much that you can do. Impressed by his defense. I think back to earlier in the season as well, when he had that block against the Jazz where he blocked a lob. I think that was on Halloween. He's sneakily been able to get some pretty high level blocks. Any final thoughts on Grayson before we wade into the waters of Dillon Brooks's game?
Yeah, one from me that stood out while you mentioned his defense. Tobias Harris working to get in post position, and they use Duncan Robinson to screen for him because Grayson's guarding him, forced to switch. As he gets the screen and wedge action to go to the post, Grayson's just not conceding space at all. He's meeting him with his chest, ends up getting the catch, turns around, obviously full circle. They end up calling a foul on him, which was not a foul. It was the first of 2 instances where
rewind to the first 5 minutes of the show.
Exactly. But Grayson standing his ground in those ways and being able to willingly guard up, knowing that guys have his back around him, I think is a microcosm of Colin being able to do the same when teams try to pick on him in certain actions. We don't need to speak about Jordan Goodwin because you already know what time it is there. But that kind of stubbornness in a complimentary way is this team is kind of armored that they wear defensively, and Grayson is a guy that really wears that in ways that the other guards do too.
Physical strength and toughness. I mean, I think, it's one of those guys, again, who people hate going against him, but love having him in your locker room. I think back to the game-winning play he made. All these games are blending together, but just the other day, against the Knicks, against the Knicks, but things like that, just what he's able to do, not backing down. If somebody's going to be holding on, I'm not dealing with that. I'm pushing you off of me. I think that's an important characteristic to have. And again, to have that across the board in the locker room, he's just another example.
Let's get into some super chats. Hoosman with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Hoosman. Always consistent with the super chats. Says, disappointed in Brooks tonight. A game where Suns could have used a lot more from him, but he wasn't available when needed. Grayson had it going, but you could tell he got winded at the end. Come back, Green. So, Dillon Brooks tonight did foul out. 16 points on 16 shots. That's 4 of 16 from deep, 2 of 6. Or 4 of 16 from the field, 2 of 6 from deep. I will admit it, and I've been a big Dillon Brooks defender this entire season, even with the antics and everything. I was a little happy that he fouled out. And maybe that's a little rude considering some of the big shots that he's hit for this team. But the way that he was playing at the end of the game, the ISO ball, the bad shots, the shots that he was not hitting tonight, and then being attacked on defense because they knew he had 5 fouls, he kind of felt like a liability on the court tonight, which hasn't been often for Dillon Brooks. I'm wondering if you guys agree.
I mean, it definitely felt like he was forcing it at times tonight, especially when you see that the reserve guys were able to sustain such a rhythm and have guys sub in and out within that kind of faction of the team and not lose their kind of advantage within all of that. You want to, I know mentally he approached this game differently, knowing that you're without 50 to 60 points from your starting backcourt just not being available for the team. Like, the approach is different, but I think if he was able to see, like, okay, the game is going a certain way, I can just get mine on the second side because guys are doing a solid job right now and just kind of doing what they need to do to get us by. And then if things do hit us like a snag at some point, then I know, okay, now it's my time. I'm that guy for the team on this night, but I won't go to it right away. I'll use it on the back end once things that were working for us maybe stop working or were met with some resistance in a different way. So it felt like he forced it at times in today's game for sure, in ways that maybe didn't hit as much as it did tonight and kind of feel like it took away from some of the goodwill that they built up.
That's true. And I think back to beginning of the game, no excuses, whatever, maybe some explanation. Now we talked about it a little bit. I know he was marked as questionable to start today because of the illness. Is that what it was?
He was never on the injury report.
He
wasn't.
He wasn't a shoot around.
Wasn't a shoot around with an illness, but the plan was always for him.
The plan was to play. Because I know at the beginning of the game, we were like, he looks like he's running through mud, and I don't know if he had to just like I don't know what he's battling, but maybe it was breaking a sweat and getting into some type of rhythm. But it felt like once he broke the sweat, the rhythm never really came there. A lot of the off-script shots and plays and ISOs didn't fit in the same way that they sometimes do. And there have been many times where we're like, oh, no. Oh, yeah, good shot. And I think kind of funny, like the Dillon Brooks experience, which changed the culture in this locker room. Yeah. This team is not 24-17 at the midway point without him. And it also kind of feels like that meme where the guy's like kind of mining for diamonds. You don't know how close you are. And he turns around before he gets there. Like you're kind of mining. You don't know how close you are to Dillon Brooks kind of making you shut up one of those shots. But he fouled out before we could even see that. And not for nothing, we mentioned it during the game. Picked up his third flagrant of the year. So while we're on technical foul watch, he's now got 3 flagrant foul points, and 7 flagrant foul points is also an automatic suspension this year too. So something to be mindful of while we watch him continue.
Yeah, and look, all the great things I've said about Dillon Brooks still stands after this game.
Absolutely.
This was one of the low points on the Brooks roller coaster, but like you said, he's completely changed the culture. He's completely changed this team. He's been absolutely extraordinary as far as efficiency goes, post moves goes, from three goes. He's been not as great as last year, but the difficulty of shots that he's been taking, he has been certainly critical to why the Suns have been great. He has earned the goodwill and he has earned the leash to go out there and play at the beginning of the game like he did, but it does get to a point where if you're not hitting those shots and then you're also fouling on the other end and you're getting flagrants and you're firing the other team up and you're firing the crowd up, there gets a certain point where for this game, and I'm talking specifically just for this game, it was a distinct negative for this team.
Firing the crowd, I was putting it nicely.
Yeah. By the way, Dwayne Rankin uncensoring that tweet, awesome. Loved it. Overall, Dillon Brooks has still brought vastly more positive things to this franchise. His overall contributions on the season will end up being vastly positive. Tonight, it was a vast negative, in my opinion. Some more complaining in our super chats. LeBron Allstat, or LeBronistat, I don't know. $10 super chat says, I don't care what anyone says. Our coaches are straight bums. How bad is Nick Richards to not play him? When Goody has more rebounds than Markinoso combined, like, holy Brooks, my God, will he ever learn?
Well, some of the rebounds that Goody is able to get, first of all, I want to highlight his multiple efforts, but it also comes because the bigs are tussling with opposing bigs. They're engaged in physical warfare. And here comes Jordan Goodwin. I'll take that. Extra possession on offense, grab and go on defense to springboard in the offense, rinse and repeat. So that's part of it. But Nick is not playing better basketball than what Oso was able to provide tonight or what Mark was able to provide tonight. I think it's as simple as that, and I feel like we've seen that not work to an advantage for Nick for what? 4 weeks now?
LeBron meant centers, not coaches.
Oh.
Our centers are straight bunch. My bad.
Okay.
Because I thought that in the framing of your sentence, LeBron, strive for greatness. I thought in the framing of your sentence, you meant like how bad is Nick Richards that the coaches are deciding not to play them. Thank you for the clarification because I was going to push back on that. but saying the centers are straight bums, not the coaches.
Well, the
I
centers are
disagree
not.
with.
I don't agree with it either way of those two things. The centers are not bums. Nick's just not playing. Nick's not impacting the game enough compared to what Oso is doing in a versatile way and what Mark is doing even more so.
And to that point too, we said it already. I think that they got outplayed. That they got outplayed, but they got outplayed by somebody who has been top 5 center in the league this year.
And then Isaiah Stewart, who was one of the best rim protecting centers,
just got named defensive player of the month,
which I can't believe that's actually a thing.
Yeah, right? So I know, right?
They were making up new shit. Clutch player of the year, defensive player of the month, guy who ties his shoe the best. That one goes to Bradley Beal.
Not this season.
Well, it's probably the only thing that he can do this season, if we're being honest. Sorry. Let's rip through some more LeBron comments. LeBron with I'm just gonna call you LeBron. The $2 super chat says, "Why can't our centers play paint defense, rebound? It's kind of tilting." And then also adds, "Why are we choking leads left and right? FFS, which means for bleep's sake."
Well, they being Oso and Mark are doing those things you're asking for. Maybe looked a little different tonight, but that's because they went against one of the 4 or 3 best centers in the league this season, and he had one of his kind of better games in certain ways, especially on the physicality side of it. But yeah, I don't think Nick has the trust from the guys on the floor when he's playing in the game. You can see it before his exit from the rotation. Guys aren't trusting that he's going to be where he's supposed to be. That leads to overreaction here. That overreaction leads to advantage created to the offense. Rinse and repeat. On top of no impact being provided to the offense. Not trying to single Nick out, but because he's the subject of the conversation, what he's doing and what he hasn't been capable of bringing to the mix is a contrast to what Mark and Oso have been able to bring. You can say Mark hasn't maybe been scoring the best. 5 stocks tonight? That's impact. Can you find other ways to gain possessions and impact the game for your team, setting solid screens and things like that? Nick didn't feel like he was doing much of any of the things that earned him a starting spot early at this point last season with the Suns when he came around.
11 stocks from your centers. Also, Nick Richards got significant rotation minutes at the beginning of the season.
He did. He got outplayed.
He got a look. It wasn't like he hasn't been stuck on the bench this entire season. Like he's had his chance.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 coaches, he's had his chance.
His chance to earn that spot in the mix was when Mark wasn't playing,
or when Oso was playing poorly,
and then when Mark was on the minute restriction. I was like, okay, I gotta find ways to fill the gaps in the center rotation. They just didn't bring it, man.
And that's the thing. I'm not here to say that, because the question was how bad is he for them not to trust. I'm not gonna say he's X bad, but I think you can ask yourself, based on what you've seen from Nick this year and what you wanted to see more from the front court tonight against who they were going against, would you trust him to go out there and make those plays? And I don't think that the answer could be a confident yes, and I think that's why the coaches aren't trusting him, because I definitely know if the answer was yes from the coaches, we would have seen him get in.
Yeah, he's simply put, he's not doing what he was doing when he was brought to the Suns last season. If he was, he would be having a say-so in the rotation right now. I promise that.
Yeah. 100% agree. Firelord Wilson with the $2 super chat, always with a fire name, Firelord Wilson. The Suns need to remember this and ball out on 129. That'll be the next time the Suns take on the Detroit Pistons, and I would agree with you. Hopefully Devin Booker and Jalen Green are playing in that game.
Also, Noah, we saw you with the eyeballs in the chat, man.
Yeah, we hate you. Bear the Blader, who also came out to one of our watch parties earlier, celebrates 2 months of membership. Thank you, Bear. Says they played Suns basketball tonight. Sometimes shots fall, sometimes they don't. Roll the dice on this exact same game, and 60% of the time, they win. Yeah. And I think to LeBron's point earlier, once again, strive for greatness. Why are they losing games? I do think that you're missing this extra creator when it comes down to crunch time, or when teams are going on runs. Missing a Jamari Bouye off the bench, a guy who can calm things down. Missing a Devin Booker tonight, or a Jalen Green for this entire season. So I think in LeBron's last super chat, what they said was warranted. Yeah. Let's get the final super chat up here from Keybon. 9095. Thank you, Keybon. Says, see people losing confidence, but here have nothing to lose after watching Suns versus Kings on March 2025. Suns are fun to watch now. No wins still taste better. March 14th, 2025, the Suns beat the Sacramento Kings to move to a resounding 31-36. Devin Booker had 22 and 13. I don't know if that's the game to complain about, to be honest with you. But your point still stands. Much better this year.
Yeah, you can't even compare the two teams.
Yeah, I will take this loss over most of the wins last year.
What's the Suns' win total at right now?
24.
24, and they won 30.
They ended up winning 36 games last year.
So that should say everything at the halfway point of this season. They're already,
halfway point, because what's 24?
They went 1-10 in their last 11 games at the end of last season. The Suns were 35 and 38 and finished the season 36 and 46.
And that was in the quote unquote
36 unbothered.
That was in the quote unquote turn it on stretch. I
do remember right before that they beat Toronto, Chicago, Cleveland, and Milwaukee back to back 4-game win streak. It felt like we were alive. Who cares? We don't need to go back over this. Final thoughts: the Phoenix Suns lose to the Pistons, have another game against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. Jordan says hopefully Devin Booker's back for that game. They're still waiting and seeing with Jalen Green, who played 5-on-5. But no word on whether he'll play. Saturday would be a triumphant return. But your final thoughts for tonight's loss that drops the Suns to 24-17.
My final thought is that I am more encouraged by the good we saw tonight than discouraged by the things that could have gone a little bit better, because I think a lot of those things will carry on and carry over to when this team eventually gets to full strength.
We haven't really talked about Mr. Gillespie, but I did want to make sure we brought his name up. 4 of 6 from deep, 18 points tonight, 6 assists as well. Also had, 2 steals in tonight's game. That's a guy that continues to just find ways to provide impact. They're going to need him to bring it regardless of who's available on Saturday to get a win in Madison Square Garden. And I imagine he's starting to find a little bit of rhythm as things kind of shift around him. If he sustains at this type of level, they have a chance to beat anybody on any given night.
Yeah. Sorry, Colin and Royce. You guys got bumped by me yelling at the beginning of the show. Shout
out Royce continuing to step up when the team needs a primary playmaker. Skip pass here, pocket pass there, simple +1 pass here. He just understands his role, gets the job done.
29 points between those two tonight, 13 assists and 9 rebounds between Colin Gillespie and Royce O'Neal. Not bad from two guys that will likely be on the bench when this team is fully healthy, which we are still waiting to see. My final thoughts, quite simply put, are Ferk de Roof. So you can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. That's on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Hit that like button on your way out of here. Hit that subscribe button. We're closing in on 50,000 subscribers. We are 1.2 thousand away from 50.
Let's make it happen.
Every single subscription matters. Let's get that before the Suns go on their playoff run. That's right. I said it. But first comes Saturday. We'll be back pregame, watch along, and postgame show for Knicks Suns round 2. We shout out the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. You can follow him at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3, following up my screaming with very calm, rational takes as always. You can follow Gil at @GilMcGregor_, and you can follow me at ERIKRUBY. I promise I won't do that again.
3 p.m. tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.